a child, and the child dies because it doesn't work. It's not meant to. You're not meant to mingle those two things together, and yet that's exactly what they do. And so, the whole alien agenda, these UFOs, you know, all of a sudden now we're seeing them in the sky. Now all of a sudden we're hearing stories, people supposedly being abducted, and the people who are abducted by these aliens, they tell you some of the scariest stories in the world. There's a movie called The Fourth Kind. And it tells you the story of alien abductions. I don't know if it's true or not. Supposedly it's true, but I've heard that it may not be. But this alien abduction scenario, and these aliens are the most evil thing that these people have ever experienced in their life. And all these abductees, they tell a story about experiments being done and actually seeing the grotesque, bizarre result of the fusion of alien DNA and human DNA in the form of alien-human hybrids. That's what the giants were of Genesis chapter 6. There's that number again. They were the fusion of the sons of God and the daughters of men, creating the giants. This is why they had 6 fingers. The Bible's giving you the clues on how it works and what their identity is. And so the fourth kingdom is coming down to do what? Remember all the UFO scenarios where the aliens are going to come, they're going to bring us to our next phase of evolution. We're already hearing that everywhere we turn, that man's DNA needs a change so we actually can be better and smarter and live longer. The alien agenda says we're going to come down, we're going to become a part of you to raise you up to a new level, to a new era of consciousness. We have these alien-human hybrids running around everywhere. Movies such as Fire in the Sky, actually based upon an alleged true story of alien abductions. This guy was telling you that they were doing stuff with him that he hated to talk about. Betty and Barney Hill, I remember this from a child. Hearing the story, there was actually a movie called The UFO Incident made about Betty and Barney Hill, a couple that was abducted, taken into spacecraft. Through hypnosis, they were remembering all these things. They actually described the aliens, described the craft. Whitley Strieber wrote a book called Communion, where he described his multiple alien abductions. He described the things that they were doing, the experiments that was going on, and so on and so on. We have no way of knowing whether he was telling the truth, but one of the interesting things that Strieber pointed out in the book, and it showed up, there was actually a film made about this called Communion. One of the interesting things was that when Strieber was trying to, and here he gives his description of these aliens, it looked like lamb, okay, it looks like what Aleister Crowley saw. He's questioning the aliens on their appearance. And the aliens sort of give mental telepathy, and they tell him, this is not really how we look. We cannot reveal to you our true identity. But the Bible does. These are evil angels. And think about all the TV shows, all the movies, all the things that we're seeing right now. And I've made this statement before, if there's an alien shows up in a movie or a TV show, I guarantee there's a hybrid. Okay? The X-Files was all about alien-human hybrids. A child that was to be born that was going to save mankind. Blood that was going to save mankind. This was the story. Mulder, who actually dies in the X-Files series and is resurrected again. He is Osiris, he is Apollo, he is the dying sun who's resurrected as the sun rises. He is E.T., who dies and is resurrected. He is the beast who's going to be taken out of the pit, and there's something about his blood that's going to save mankind. V. In the TV show V, in the old one and especially the new one, you have all these alien-human hybrids, and these hybrids are like the key to everything, including the TV show The Event. These aliens come down, and we see that there are human-alien hybrids there. The Iron Kingdom has mingled themselves with the seed of men, and even in the symbolism of the word event, notice the two E's facing each other, facing in opposite directions. That is precisely the thing that you see with Ordo ab Chao, the double-headed eagle, and Albert Pike describes that as the fusion of the heavenly kingdom with the earthly kingdom together in one body. That double-headed eagle is a representation of these aliens/angels and humans and their hybrid race, literally them mingling themselves with the seed of men. Now, I'm studying this word chariot throughout the Bible, and I'm getting this whole alien UFO agenda by studying this thing, and I'm understanding now exactly what's going on. And then we hear stories about how the government of Russia and the government of the United States, we actually have alien craft. We actually have the UFOs, and we're trying to reverse engineer them so we can fly them ourselves, and Area 51 and things going on around the world. And I will tell you that some of the UFO reports that are made out there, in fact one in the St. Louis area a few years ago that captured the attention of the entire nation, was actually captured on video, seen by multiple witnesses, including law enforcement, is that this craft that they saw was particularly interesting, and it may have been the result of something that was engineered not by aliens but by man. Where did the technology come from? What's going on with Area 51, and are we really building spaceships and things like that? The whole U-2 spy plane thing was this top secret thing. That was the sort of the beginning of Area 51, and we were doing things with spacecraft that nobody had ever, not with aircraft that nobody had ever done before. Where did that technology come from? How did we get the ideas for some of the things we have? And some of the things that are being seen right now defy normal explanation. Is elements of the United States government, the Russian government, maybe even the Chinese government or others involved with extraterrestrial / alien / evil angel technology? I think it's possible. I think it's possible by what I see in the scriptures. In the book of 1 Samuel, the Israelites, they come to Samuel. They've been through the era of the judges, and some of these judges, Samuel's predecessor was not very good. His sons were just destroying his ministry. Samuel likewise, and they come to Samuel and they say, Samuel, we're tired of these judges ruling over us. We want a king. We want to be like everybody else, and we want a king. And it made Samuel angry. And Samuel went to God and said, God, go ahead and kill them now. They're turning their back on you. They want a king. And God said, I'm not going to kill them, but I'm going to give them what they want. Be careful always about your demands that you make with God. God said, I'm going to give them what they want. I'm going to give them a king. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to go and I want you to tell them the manner of the king that I'm going to give them. What they're going to end up with. Okay, they're going to end up with the fruit of their own thoughts, and they're not going to like this. This is not going to turn out very well for them, but this is what I'm going to do. And so Samuel goes out to tell them. Now, the interesting thing is that we have from the time of Saul, then David, and then Solomon, and then the kingdom divided, and you have this line in the northern tribes, and then you have this line of kings in Judah. The sum total of kings from the time of Saul to the time that the Judahites went into the Babylonian captivity was exactly 42 kings. That number is interesting because that's the exact number of months that the beast prevails on planet Earth. That number 42 is associated with the rise and the reign of the Antichrist. And so the king that God is describing for them was typified in some of the kings of Israel, but will be seen totally in the king, the beast, the Antichrist in the last days. And notice what he says. 1 Samuel chapter 8. And he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him captains over thousands and captains over 50s, and he will set them to ear his ground, to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war and instruments of his chariots. And I look at this verse, and I see it typologically, I see it prophetically, I see it as being a picture of what could be coming down the road. And I say, according to this, and according to what we're hearing, I say that it's highly possible that mankind is involved, in fact, involved in some sort of weapons program where the ideas, I mean, we're not talking about bullets and arrows. We're talking about advanced weaponry, flying machines that defy the natural laws of physics that we would have never figured out on our own, that all of a sudden now there's a race going on. Who's going to control these? Who's going to build them first? Who's going to control these machines? Is that far-fetched? I'm going to show you that it's not. Look what God warned, 2 Kings chapter 18. Verse 24, how then wilt thou turn away the face of one captain of the least of my master's servants, and put thy trust on Egypt for chariots and for horsemen? Remember Egypt. Egypt was a picture of that fourth kingdom whose God king ruled over them. Isaiah 31:1, woe unto them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses, and trust in chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord. In other words, there is a strong admonition and a strong indication that, as they did in the Old Testament, when they sought to Egypt for the chariots, when they wanted the advantage of the Egyptian chariots, is it possible that we're looking at a situation right now where certain governments of the world are looking for that same advantage by reverse engineering these chariots of the gods? Is that possible? I think it is. And I think it's been worked on for a long time. It may not be common knowledge, it certainly is public knowledge, that Adolf Hitler, the guy who wanted to build a new world order, that's what he called it, the guy who wanted a 1,000-year Reich, that's like an opposite of Jesus' 1,000-year reign, the guy who wanted to bring mankind to a new evolution, wanted to cleanse the races, and was doing genetic experiments. That guy, genetic experiments, the guy that was doing all of that stuff in Germany, was also had a program where he had his top scientists working on, number one, rockets, propulsion methods, number two, flying discs, flying objects that were saucer-shaped in their size, that had propulsion systems that was not understood by anybody during the day. Where did they get that information from? You do a little research and you'll find out the secret behind Adolf Hitler was not just that Adolf Hitler was this charismatic leader and he had all these ideas. The real story behind Adolf Hitler was there was a group of very, very powerful, evil, occultic people behind him called the Thule Society, T-H-U-L-E. These Thule Society members were in constant communication through channeling methods with familiar spirits, angels, devils, aliens. And these channeling spirits, these familiar spirits, were giving information to the Thule Society, being passed on through the channels in Nazi Germany, on how to do things, how to propel things, how to move objects, how to defy the laws of physics that we've never been able to figure out how to do yet. Like I say, this may not be common knowledge, but it's public knowledge. Well, it didn't work out. And by the way, the symbol for the Thule Society was the swastika. That's where Hitler got it from. And so the United States won the war. Hitler shot himself. And the brand new fledgling agency called the Central Intelligence Agency heard and knew about what Hitler's scientists were working on. So in an operation called Operation Paperclip, by the way, Operation Paperclip was mentioned in the X-Files. Operation Paperclip, where the CIA went over there and got all the German scientists, whatever Russia didn't end up with, got the German scientists and brought them over to these bases, Alamogordo, New Mexico, and places like that, right along the 33rd parallel, by the way. Brought them over and said, you're going to go to work for us. Okay? Werner von Braun, the father of modern rocketry, was one of those men working on secret projects such as the atomic bomb, new propulsion systems that we didn't have a clue how they were operating.